The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
People, we're going to do a prospect ranking report today, and Trevor Beggs, man, he is comparing, because of his sources, yes, he's comparing Atu Ratu to Leon Draisaitl. This is stuff you don't want to miss.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That's right. The next $14 million man for your Vancouver Canucks is Kyle Bowen. More on that later. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks and also currently a Canucks writer with a Daily Hive, Vancouver. Before we dive into this episode about Canucks prospects being cooler than you think, baby, let's go. Before we do that, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. You want to know why? Because it is your Canucks every damn day. We're part of that Locked On Podcast Network. They're doing the most for sports fans across the world. And for our show, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe and like on YouTube. Oh, baby, help us out there. And on the podcast side, if you could leave a 5-star review, we would love you for eternity, okay? Because we're not here without you, but hey, we're also not here without the sponsors. And today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Go get off your rear end and get a job. Start hiring now if you're an employer with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/locked-on. There are jobs to be had in this world. And if you're a Canucks prospect, there might be jobs to be had at the NHL level because, you go from making that AHL salary to making that NHL salary. That's a game changer, baby. Let's see, are any of these Canucks prospects right now going to be game changers for the Canucks in 2024-25? Let's dive into that, but I think the main message here is that the Canucks prospect pool might be better than you think. And to be honest, it couldn't be viewed on less favorably across the NHL. This is considered one of the weakest prospect pools in hockey. So let's dive into it. Let's give it a bit more juice today because I truly do think it's better and cooler than most people think. Speaking of things that are cooler than you think, Kyle Bowen, how you doing, buddy?
I'm glad to be here, man. I'm glad I'm not fired after yesterday's shenanigans, right? The crotch shot seen around the world, the crotch shot that almost put an end to Locked On Canucks. Hey, speaking of which, Shannon Sharp having erotica audiobook level sex on his IG yesterday, right? Big time host on ESPN. Boom, bam. You go back to Locked On Canucks. I'm showing my crotch to the world. Do the math. Kyle Bowen, Shannon Sharp, Trevor Beggs. Same level of whatever the F this is. Speaking of which, Locked On Canucks, right? Your team every day. As Trevor said, man, we appreciate you. Subscribe, hit the like. And, Trevor said, if you give us a 5-star review, we'll love you. Hey, you know what, Trevor? Here's the truth, man. You and I, Canucks fans, bro, you don't need to give us ish, okay? As long as you're cheering for the Canucks, we will love you. Because at the end of the day, we are all Locked On Canucks, including these prospects, man. These prospects, okay? According to somebody, they gave us, the 28th overall rank when it came to the prospect pool going into this season. That's pretty damn bad. Pretty damn bad for a team that's been good for only like 35 seconds, again, according to Ryan Henderson. And Trevor Beggs, though, he's been doing his own research, been nerding out, been hammering the reports. And again, you think the Canucks prospects are cooler than everyone thinks. And I'm interested in why, who's about to hit a grand slam, who's the sleeper. And again, is Atu Ratu the next Leon Draisaitl? Did I hear that right, or was I dreaming yesterday? Took some melatonin.
Yeah, well, yeah, you might be dreaming, but let's dream here a little bit. And let's start with Atu Ratu because I think he's actually one of the most intriguing Canucks prospects. He's not the best prospect, but his ceiling is incredibly interesting, right? I mean, this is a guy who people thought he was going to be a number 1 overall pick in his draft year, and then you read more about this guy's mentality and the way he's wired. And, he got a little bit stressed out in his draft year, was working too hard, was kind of losing his love for the game a bit, ended up falling down draft rankings. But Atu Ratu now in his 3rd season after being drafted last year, finished the season really strong, 15 points in 13 games for Abbotsford, over 50 points in the AHL. And I think he needed some continuity because in his first season in North America, he probably got rushed up to the Islanders, who had next to no prospects, again, the most mid team in the NHL. and because we're yo-yoing between the minors and then got traded. So a lot was going on for Aatu Ratu during his first full season in North America. I think the continuity last year helped him out. And this is a guy who we've talked about before, has compared statistically to JT Miller in his trajectory now. I wanted to kind of look at where JT Miller was during his third and fourth seasons after the draft and compare it to Aatu Ratu. And really the idea was that these are both guys that came in with some draft hype and developed maybe slower than people thought. And obviously we all know what happened with JT Miller. But with JT Miller, during his third season after being drafted, so compared to Aatu Ratu, he was a point per game player in the AHL. Aatu Ratu not quite there. In the NHL, he played 30 games, but only had 3 goals and 6 points. So the fourth season after being drafted was when Miller really cemented himself as an NHLer. Again, not putting up gaudy point totals, but hit double digits in goals, hit 23 points. I do wonder, Kyle, could Aatu Ratu make that kind of impact for the Vancouver Canucks this season? I think forward depth on his team is going to hamper that a little bit, and I'm not in a rush to bring him up. But I do wonder if injuries hit, especially at center, if Aatu Ratu might get an opportunity this season.
Yeah, with Teddy Bluger and Pius Suter, there's still an opportunity there, and to fast forward things, you're looking at a guy that could replace Pius Suter in 12 months, maybe in a couple months, since Trevor Beggs is, wishing for injury, so this guy can prove he's the next JT Miller. Here's the thing, Trevor Beggs, man, a father now, man, second best father of all time, just nice to everyone, especially the young bucks. And right now, he's just showing a lot of love to the Canucks prospects, and I like it. Now, Aatu Ratu, again, I pretty much answered the question. If there's injuries to Teddy Bluger and Pius Suter, I don't want to think about the other two. Yeah, I could see this guy get a couple games. I wonder, though, because they're trying out a lot of new things. We've been hammering the whole Tyler Myers, Forbert, Desharnais. Those are 3 of your 6 defensemen. Or Noel Juleson. Those are 3 of your 6 defensemen. Blah, blah, blah. The depth on this defense is bad. Blah, blah, blah. Yo, are we for certain that Pius Suter can, in the Pacific Division, be that bottom 6 center? You know what I'm saying? I think he's intelligent enough, but we saw him a lot on the wing, especially in the second half of that season, especially in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if they're moving things around. Hoaglander, Sherwood. We're not 100% guaranteed on Sherwood too. This guy's been good for a year and a half. Like, I wonder if things move around. This happens, that happens, and yeah, we get a call up even prior to an injury because they want a center.
And again, it's the one position on this team where you don't have a ton of depth, right? I mean, on defense, you got quantity, maybe not quality, especially the NHL level. And on the wings, you got a ton of depth on this team, right? So it's going to be hard for guys like, the R.C. Baines, the Linus Karlssons to crack this team and make an impact without multiple injuries. But at center, you got Bluger, you got Suter, and then who's next? Aatu Ratu is kind of that guy, right? And again, he finished the season on the wing, which is kind of troubling, but the Canucks need a prospect like that at center. And I think they're going to try their best to develop Aatu Ratu into their center. I think he's going to spend the majority of his time in the AHL this season at center ice. And I don't know, man. It wouldn't shock me just based on the skill set. He was so good as a teenager. And I think I saw Vancouver's for Life in the comments saying Aatu Ratu was the number 1 overall pick. He made the Finnish World U20 junior team at the age of 16 years old, I believe, before he was drafted, which is a pretty hard thing to do. And it had him on scouts' radars across the hockey world. So, look, I think Aatu Ratu, the skating is the big knock, but we saw with Bo Horvat, that's something that could be rectified. But if you got the hockey IQ, if you got the shot, if you got that two-way awareness, which Aatu Ratu, he checks every single one of those boxes, I think there's a good chance this guy can make an impact. It might not be this season. I think we'll have to take injuries for that to happen. But I think Aatu Ratu is going to be an NHLer at some point, sooner rather than later.
You talked about a lot of those personality traits, but one thing that you didn't talk about, and maybe like the page got ripped out or got eaten up by your 1-year-old son. I don't know if you missed this page, but does this guy have the will, though? The will to get better? Because you're talking about a prospect, a player at 16 years old, was touted to be the guy. Was that too young for him to get all that clout, to get all that pedigree? And since then, he's kind of been, slipped. Well, he definitely has been slipping. Slipping so much so that I feel as if not like the NHL, let alone some Canucks fans, have kind of forgot about this guy being a really good player, and be honest, an NHL player. Like, I feel as if he's kind of forgotten.
You talk about Aatu Ratu, that is, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, he was drafted in the second round, right? So it's not like this guy was a top 10 pick or anything like that. But to me, he's just not an ordinary second round pick because of the hype he had coming into that draft year.
Wait, how
because of
about
what he
Tyler
did
Benson?
production-wise.
Remember what Tyler Benson before this guy got drafted, or the guy that was playing for the Giants? This guy was supposed to be a top line player. Then he gets bolted down to the second round, and then injuries kind of effed up any chance for him to find any type of momentum that he had when he was like 15 years old. And again, I don't think it's the injury thing with Atu Ratu, if I'm mistaken. I think it might just be, again, his unwillingness, not knowing how to do better, but in this department. But that's like putting in more effort, like being that dog, being the first one at the rink, being the last guy out, putting in the extra work, getting all those details right. Because deep down, he has that skill, that layer of skill that's gotten him here. But man, oh man, there's so much more to be an NHL player. And again, I don't have the knowledge. I don't read any prospect reports. I don't talk to prospect gurus. I'm just saying, I wonder if that's the thing. And, now working with Manny Malhotra, a guy who, you want to talk about a guy who was that top line guy in the juniors. You know what I'm saying? He's like a top 5 pick, was touted to be that offensive guy. And look at what he did to make a big impact in the NHL. He translated his game into being so good in the bottom 6. There was prime Manny Malhotra, and it was pretty much for like the latter half of his career in Columbus. But that first half in his first season with the Canucks, like prime Manny Malhotra was, to talk to the kids here, 10 times better than Teddy Bluger.
Yeah.
That's how good he was at that bottom 6 position.
10 times better might be a bit of a stretch, but he was a superior player. I mean, one of the best face-off men in the league, an incredible two-way player. And I think the perfect coach for Aatu Ratu, right? Because, Aatu Ratu, he's got some offensive sauce to his game, but I think Manny Malhotra can really cement the defensive aspects of his game. And look, when I've watched Aatu Ratu in the AHL, there are nights where he's maybe not the most spectacular player on the ice. And in fact, I think, guys like RC Baines are, in terms of offensively speaking, a lot more creative and noticeable than Aatu Ratu. But he's just a steady, solid player. Mm-hmm. And it's not like he's lacking hands. Like, I think he's got a good shot. I think he's got good hands. I think he's a good decision maker. But it's just a matter of maybe upping his speed a bit and putting it all together more than anything. Look, I know I pretty much talk about the Canucks prospect will being cooler than you think. Aatu Ratu to me is, the dark horse prospect to watch, one of the most fascinating prospects on this team. Obviously, there are better prospects on the team. And Kyle, if you want, maybe I'll give you a little ranking for you, Kyle, later on this episode. But Aatu Ratu, I can see him playing NHL games next season and maybe the season after he's a full-time NHLer.
Here's the thing, Trevor. Your youngest, right? 1 year old. He has a name. That's cool. But come on, we don't remember anything when we're 1 year old, okay? He can still be programmed. I think you should change his name to Atu. Atu Beggs. That sounds like a character from Star Wars, man. Atu Beggs?
Yeah.
Holy. Hey, man. I would do it, man, on the low, man. Don't tell your wife, though. Just start calling him Atu in the car when you pick him up. Boom, bam.
We'll have to see about that. I'm not sure about that, but what I do know is that we'll be back on the other side to talk more about some Canucks prospects. I want to talk about, maybe I'll give a ranking, but specifically I want to talk about the defense, because I talk about the Canucks prospect pool being better than anything. I think the Canucks defensive prospects have been better than you think, and I want to give a shout out to Canucks management for seemingly unearthing some players later on in the draft, which they've had to do. That's what happens when you trade around 3 first-round picks in the last 5 seasons. So let's touch on all of that on the other side after we shout out our friends over at, oh yeah, baby, it's eBay Motors. You know the deal, okay? It's passion, it's drive, and it's patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and that's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors, they got everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride, every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, baby. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Oh, yeah. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible only, exclusions by eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers.
Boom, bam. People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks on Locked On Canucks. One love to the Don't Doze Art Lab for letting us use the space to produce half this show, okay? There's no Kyle Bound without those guys right now. One love to them, one love to the West Coast Bias, and one love to Aatu Ratu, man, for real. Hey, one love to Teddy Bluger, too. I talked a lot of ish there. I said Manny Malhotra 10 times the player. Manny Malhotra was damn good, okay? Really, really good. And I wonder, Teddy Bluger is still relatively young. I think he's younger than Trevor and I. I think he's like 29, right? 30, 29, around that age. So this guy has to be young. Signs a 2-year deal. 2-year deal. So there's room for him to get another deal, whether it be with the Canucks or someone else way down the road. And I wonder if this guy puts together like a couple Manny Malhotra-like years, man. Be really good in the dot. Hey, speaking of that, infamous, man. Remembering that Manny Malhotra was a face-off wizard, okay? And I think Andrew, a fact guy, I don't know. Does this guy go camping in the woods by himself? Is he a real man? Yes, he is. So I think he knows this, okay? Manny Malhotra was like, 60% in the face-offs, man. I remember watching that game where Manny Malhotra got hurt, and it broke my heart because, I think he was like 83 overall that year. 84, really, really important.
Yeah, that was too damn sad, especially with injury like, what he got in terms of that. What was it, a stick in the eye or a puck in the eye? I can't even remember now.
It was a puck in the eye.
Puck in the eye.
And I hope his eyes are working 100%. I haven't read the Manny Malhotra autobiography, but man, oh man, now he's in charge. Now he's that guy. Talking and communicating and teaching lessons and being the example for all these young prospects who, again, the NHL is ranking to be one of the worst prospect pools in the game. That's harsh, man. These guys are kids, man. Come on, NHL. Set the example, man.
Well, someone's got to be last, as we know, in this cruel thing called life. But, one area where I do think the Canucks prospect pool is a lot better than people think is on defense. And let me just kind of list off some of the top defensive prospects and where they came from, right? You got DPD, you got Elias Pettersson 2.0, drafted in the 3rd round. You got Sawyer Minio, drafted in the 3rd round. You got Kirill Kudryavtsev, drafted in the 7th round.
Okay.
And you got Cole McWard, undrafted. And I think all of these guys have a chance to play NHL games with the Canucks. Maybe not this year necessarily, but certainly in down the future here. And we talked about it before, right? DP, Elias Pettersson. There's some depth for the Abbotsford Canucks on the left side of their blue line. You got Willander, you got Breezeway, you got Hirose. Elias Pettersson's gonna have to fight and claw for a top 4 role on that team, but he's shown that he's got physical maturity beyond his years. We've seen in the World Juniors and now in Abbotsford, and if you watched him in the Allsvenskan, this guy's got a mean side to his game as well. He's never going to be a prolific point producer, but I think he's got the smarts, and he's a fairly good skater too. I think he's got enough tools to be an NHL player within the next couple seasons here. And again, when you get that value in the 3rd round, you're rocking and rolling, man.
Ooh.
And the other guy, I know I mentioned 4 guys, but let me touch quickly on Sawyer Minio, who I think might be maybe the most underrated Canucks prospect. And I know when they made that pick at the time in the 3rd round, a lot of scouts were like, why'd you draft this guy? Because he didn't put up a lot of numbers. He was kind of playing bottom pairing with the Seattle Thunderbirds there in the dub. And all of a sudden, a couple of their big dogs graduate to the pro ranks. Now Sawyer Minio, almost a point-a-game player, top pairing defenseman. Now he's on Team Canada's World Junior radar for next season. Played at the World Junior Summer Showcase for Team Canada. Sawyer Minio, man. What a great name, man. Come on.
Sawyer, man.
This guy looks like he's got a real good chance of being an NHL defenseman as well. And again, 2 guys he found in the 3rd round that could theoretically play or have long NHL careers. That's pretty good value for Pachkovin and company.
Wow, that guy's now on my radar, man. Thanks for doing that. And man, remember that song? Was it a band? Tom Sawyer?
Of course, man. It's like Rush. It's the best Canadian band of all time, man. Unbelievable.
So Tom Sawyer's not the band?
No, Tom
Rush
Sawyer
is
is like
band?
some 18th century figure. But the song's Tom Sawyer. Today's Tom Sawyer, he gets high on you, and the space he invades, he gets by on you.
I got it, right?
I had this conversation with people when I was in Ontario.
Greatest game of all time, rock band.
Yeah. So I was, if you're Canadian, I think in general, you either love or you hate Rush. And I'm a big Rush lover. And I was around some like 50 or 60 year olds at a campfire in Ontario. They all grew up in the generation of Rush, and they all hated Rush. And I got into a very heated Rush debate. Some of the most talented musicians of all time, man. So if you're hating Rush, man,
okay,
I don't know.
Trevor. It's not Meanwhile in Canada, okay? It's a Canucks show, okay? For real.
I get passionate
Sawyer
about
Minio.
Rush. My bad.
It is what it is. Okay, so now he's on my radar. Obviously, DPD's on my radar. Who's that guy? Kudrachev?
Kirill Kudryavtsev.
Kirill Kuryachev. Okay.
Why you keep trying to put the word crotch in there?
No, okay. The crotch is in my mouth right. The crotch is in my mouth, okay. It's just the way. Anyways, that dude. And again, I don't know anything about this dude. I think I've watched this guy play for 2 seconds. You know that little draft video they put up after they make the pick, and it's like, oh, they got this guy. I think he wore like a red jersey. A lot of people are talking about this guy having some skill, like a high level of skill actually, and him being a prospect that has gotten a lot better since being drafted and has built on top of that base layer of skill that he was born with. So he's interesting. But by far and away, right, the guy that is way better than these guys and has to be way better than these guys is the guy that's not in Abbotsford, right? Tom Willander. Like he's a tier, he's 2 tiers above everyone based on not picking Zach Benson, where they drafted him, Alvin's, first pick. Big deal. And have you heard anything new on that guy? Because I mentioned this, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, just watching the mixtape again. Yeah, not the perfect player, but the guy has a lot of dynamic ability that I don't think we're talking about enough. I know he has to glue everything else together and maybe just be a simpler player to be more effective. But again, we're talking about that base layer of skill for other prospects. This guy's base layer is pretty top end.
Yeah, no, and again, he's going to get an increased role this year with Boston University with Lane Hudson graduating and moving on. So you should get to see if he can develop more on the offensive side of his game, because I think we've seen the highlights, right? Like he has the defensive baseline there, but I love his aggression. I love his reads when he's getting the puck out of the zone. But I think it's offensively making those reads and knowing when to jump into the rush, because he has been burned trying to jump up into the rush. Both in Sweden and at the university level last season. So, really curious to see what he does here at Boston University. Like you said, he is by far the best Canucks prospect on defense. The only real news on him is that he didn't play in the World Junior Summer Showcase because he was dealing with a shoulder injury, I believe it was. And so, again, no real updates there. But yeah, he's going to have an increased role at Boston University this season. And if he knocks out of the park, he's signing with the Vancouver Canucks.
Trevor, you know what we should do this year on Locked On Canucks? We need to do a weekly Tom Willander report, because I don't know what we can call it. We can get a little creative with it. But man, oh man, March is going to roll around, early April, late March, and we're going to be asking ourselves that question. Like, are the Canucks going to be even better because Tom Willander is going to be inserted into this lineup for real? Now, you brought up DPD, right? Being again, the 3rd round pick, being aggressive, being angry. From the outside, again, not a lot of watching of DPD. Sounds like that typical defensive defenseman, okay? In the modern world, whatever that means, he can skate. I wonder how much a guy like Adam Foote can relate to that. Maybe not with the skating, but just all the other things.
Well, I think not only can he relate to it, I mean, DPD is the exact archetype of defenseman that this team has targeted over the past couple seasons. So, like, if he knocks it out of the park, I don't think there's going to be a lot of hesitation about giving him a shot at the NHL level and some sheltered 3rd pairing minutes, because, again, you got Derek Forbort there, your 3rd pairing left side defenseman who played 35 games last season. This isn't a guy who, again, held down a regular NHL role last year. So, like, there's a path for DPD here, but I want to kind of slow the hype train a bit. He's played, a handful of games in North America. I definitely want to see what he does for a couple months here in Abbotsford before thinking about him as a call-up option. But he's got that in his repertoire.
Well, Trevor, okay, we're hungry. We're like starving for more Elias Pettersson, okay? That's why we're doing this with DPD. It just makes sense, okay? We're traumatized, we're damaged goods out here. And again, we want more from not only the Canucks, but the alien himself, and it's kind of rubbing off on the other Elias Pettersson or Elias Pettersson. This is crazy how we have 2 guys with the same name. Trevor, I wish your name was Trevor Beggs. Wait, what? I wish your name was Kyle Bound. I think that's my cue to drink some water. Trevor Beggs, who we shouting out before we get to all your rankings, okay? 1 to 10. You're lucky I'm not asking 1 to 40, okay, Trevor? You're 31 and a half years old. You should be up there, okay? You've been riding for the Canucks for 10 years. You should be able to give me 40, but I'm only going to have to give you 10 or 7 or whatever you want to do. But I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I wrote 13 down, so you can go as high as 13. If you go any further than that, then you're not going to get anything else. But coming back on the other side with some quick half-baked Begsy rankings and some of your comments to wrap up here on Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day, after we shout out our friends over at Indeed. All right. So, if you missed it on yesterday's YouTube episode, Kyle, with the
Whoa,
infamous
what?
crotch shot,
Yep.
if we get canned from Locked On Canucks for this kind of stuff, that we're going to be using Indeed. And if you're an employer, you need to use Indeed because they are your matching and hiring platform with over 350 global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work and use Indeed for scheduling, screening, messaging, and more so you can connect with your candidates faster. And Indeed, they don't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. One of the things I love about Indeed is that they ain't slow. They don't take it slow. They do it fast, baby. They leverage over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, and their matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of the show, guess what? You'll get a $75 sponsored job credit. Wow. To get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on this very podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Man, oh man. We're here at the end of the show. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bowen, Trevor Beggs. Locked On Canucks. Hit the like button, subscribe to the show, and leave us a review. A happy one, man. A happy one. I'm recovering, right? I'm recovering from digging myself out of the hole after, taking it too personal, right? Those hate comments, got voice surgery, then removed the voice surgery in a matter of a couple of days because we live in the universe, and the most powerful thing is friendship. It can reverse things for real. And Trevor Begg showed me the light, and I'm back. All that being said, leave us a happy review, and we'll be happier towards the holidays. Okay. Anywho, Trevor Beggs. Before I start talking about the crotch shot and again the whole Shannon Sharp thing and how weird the universe is right now, can you please give us your prospect report? Because more hockey, right? More hockey. Okay. We almost got fired yesterday. So, Trevor, can you just talk about hockey, okay? Give me the top 13 prospects in the Canucks organization.
All right, we're at the 27-minute mark of this episode, so let me rip through it quick styles. Number 13,
rip it.
You got Josh Bloom. He went back to the OHL last year, scored the Mem Cup winning goal. He's a beauty, but he's number 13 on my list. Number 12, Riley Patterson. He's got some speed. He's got some skill, almost a point-a-game player in the OHL last season. Number 11, Melvin Fernstrom, the Canucks' first pick in the third round of this year's draft. A lot of rankings have him higher, but when I see a slender guy with some skill draft in the third round, I think you got a bit of an uphill climb to make it to the big leagues. And number 10, I got Cole McWard, right shot defenseman, almost played with Quinn Hughes last season. He might play NHL games first before any other guy on this list, but I think overall in terms of his potential, other defensemen have a higher ceiling, including number 9, Kirill Kudryavtsev, the 7th round pick. His points, about the same level as he was the year before, but defensively, he was one of the most impressive defensive players in the OHL. Got some accolades and some recognition for that. Curious to see this guy's development going forward. That big Russian. Number 8, Anthony Romani. Okay, I see similarities between this guy and number 7, Archie Baines. Okay, you got two guys who are a bit of late bloomers. Archie Baines bloomed even later than Romani, but Romani, similar profile, incredibly skilled, slick with the puck, almost a goal a game in the OHL last season. And I think both him and Baines have very similar trajectories. I got Baines a little higher because I got that Surrey bias, that West Coast bias in me. And I think Baines can be a contributor at the NHL level. Number 6, we talked about this guy, Sawyer Minio. He's on Team Canada's World Junior radar. He's my number 6 prospect. Number 5, I got DPD, Elias Pettersson 2.0. He's big. He's strong. He's a second Elias Pettersson on this team. And I think at some point, there are going to be 2 Elias Petterssons playing for your Vancouver Canucks. Number 4, the guy we talked about off the top, Atu Ratu. I almost thought about ranking him higher, but I think the 3 guys on the list deserve it over Atu Ratu. But he's got arguably one of the highest ceilings among Canucks prospects, maybe even higher than guys like Shilovs and Willander who are ahead of him. Number 3, I got Artur Shilovs. Who knows, man? This guy could be the starter for your Vancouver Canucks this season, and that's asking for a lot for a guy with 19 NHL games. But he's shown that he can handle those big moments. Number 2, I got Tom Willander. We'll have the Willander watch going this season. And number 1, of course, it's a no-brainer. It's Jonathan Lekkerimäki, one of the best scoring profiles for a teenager at the SHL level. last season. His one goal he scored to the AHL looked like typical Lekaramaki sniping it from the slot. And I don't think it's too long until we see this guy play for your Vancouver Canucks.
Trevor, man, you're gonna make it on Sportsnet, man. You're gonna make it on Sportsnet as long as I don't drag you down with me, man. On that note, man, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry for showing my ball sack bulge to the whole world. You see those like Zoom meetings that go wrong. I can't believe it happened to me. Again, 8:30 in the morning, woke up 15 minutes before that, opened up the laptop, boom, bam, got lazy, got unprofessional. And, yeah, man, showed the bulge off accidentally, showed the crotch shot. And it's something that my grandchildren are going to have to live with. For real. For real, man. They're going to have to wear shirts saying size doesn't matter for the rest of their lives. And it's going to be my fault. Because I drank too much Mountain Dew when I was 6 years old. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry for slipping up like that. I should be wearing pants all the time. And, yeah, just tell your kids I'm sorry, man.
I'll let you know a little secret, man. I mean, for the viewers on YouTube, they only see our talking heads. I'm not wearing pants for 60% of the time we record, man. And I'm in my office. Sometimes you just gotta let the boys loose, man. So it's all good. I don't blame you one bit. You just gotta. Your camera had a mind of its own, man. I just apparently wanted to show off your bulge to the world. But you had a beautiful bulge. We got some beautiful commenters here on Locked On Canucks. I'll get to a couple comments before we get out of here. Vancouver hockey is my life. Saying, is Kyle going to start an OnlyFans account? Kyle, is this happening?
I'm not going to start an OnlyFans because I'm just a private dude, and I'm also not going to ever get into the world of erotica audiobooks, and I want to get into the world of audiobooks for real. Trevor knows that things are happening. Boom, bam. But after Shannon Sharp's performance yesterday, I just got super jealous. I'm not going to lie. So much of my manhood was lost, and again, there was no audio. And then there's no video, I'm sorry, of what happened yesterday with Shannon Sharp for 26 minutes, okay? 4 minutes on live. But he talked about it on his own show, and he said he was going for 25 minutes. That's why he was breathing so hard and delusional in the things he was saying. But I'm not going to lie, I was getting jealous of how he was saying it because I'm never that smooth. And I felt bad for my girlfriend watching that. So to answer your question, I'm not going to have an OnlyFans.
Kyle, comparison is the thief of joy. Just remember that, buddy.
Oh, yeah, true. True.
And that's why, we talk about some Canucks prospects. We compare them to other NHLers, but not always completely fair to do that. Got a couple comments here about a DPD, Elias Pettersson. Andrew saying, watching him live, he just looks big out there. Again, 6'4", 200 pounds, still a teenager. That's pretty impressive stuff.
My girlfriend's never said that too, buddy. So I don't know why you keep, we don't have to dig this hole even further, man. Let's end the show, okay? We don't got it. Come on, man. I know what you're doing, bro. I know you watch a lot of stand-up. We can get out of here, man. You don't gotta dig this grave, man. I don't want you getting fired, man. Let's get out of here. No episode tomorrow, okay? I'm getting a haircut. Do the math. I saw my bulge and the size of it on live TV, and then I was like, I got to book a haircut. This is all I got. And I'm balding. Dude, come on, man. Get out of here. Trevor, sign us out, man.
All right. Well,
I'm getting out of here, man. I'm getting out of here, man.
Red Risotto. Okay, Kyle, see you later, buddy. Red Risotto saying it's tough for Rookie D to make it in the NHL. Elias Pettersson has only played on the big ice. Going to throw that word big for Kyle one more time. Kyle, hopefully you don't cry too much, buddy. Elias Pettersson, I think he can adjust, though. I think it's sometimes easier to adjust for defensemen than it is for offensive players who have less space to work out there. And Andrew, we'd love to come to Abbey, watch a game with you, buddy. Let's go. Shout out to Anthemous with the Willander calendar. I think that works, man. And shout out to Anthemous as well, saying that check yourself if you don't like Rush. We got to check ourselves out of here because Kyle's already done that. Shout out to the everydayers, the occasional listeners, the first-time listeners, the new subscribers, and those of you who join us on the live show on YouTube. We love each and every one of you, your family, and your dogs, too. Again, probably no episode tomorrow. Maybe over the weekend. Who knows? I'm in the Okanagan, but I'm there with the fam. But we will be back next week. Full-time, baby. Not like we were ever part-time, but we'll be full-time starting next Monday. But for now, we got to get out of here. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bowen. And you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked